Here we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, do karaoke night tonight. All right, I'm going to call to order. Can we do attendance, please?
Mr. Haggerty?
Here.
Ms. Austin?
Here.
Mr. Montiel?
Here.
Stephen is absent tonight. Mr. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Hupka?
Here.
Mr. Renson?
Here.
Mr. Kaplan?
Here.
And Ms. Cicero?
Here.
And Chair Martinez?
Present.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Let's move on to approval of minutes from May 6, 2025. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes? Any additions, corrections, discussion to have about the minutes from our meeting on May 6th? Nope. Hearing none. Can we get a vote to approve? I need a motion to approve. Sorry.
So moved.
I will second.
All in favor to approve?
All right, Mr. Haggerty?
Abstain.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Montiel?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hupka?
Yes.
Mr. Renson?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan?
Yes.
Ms. Cicero?
Yes.
And Chair Martinez?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Do we have anybody here for the public forum online?
Let me quickly check. We do not.
And not seeing anybody in the room, we will move on to item number 4, capital projects.
So I'll just quickly say, up on the screens, this is our workable worksheet. And as you work through this, it would help me tremendously if you could tell me which line on here that you're referring to, and I'll add the numbers until we get to 7 million.
The line being the ranking column?
The
Or
what?
the line number. I see.
This line would be extremely helpful so I can find it quickly.
I don't suppose there's any way for you to sort by the ranking?
I don't have the ranking sheet
Okay.
because that's a read-only, because it's a combined sheet, but you should have that in your packet on the
Okay.
agenda.
Yep.
So you guys can open that, and then, and if the number line doesn't work for you, just let me know what it is and I'll do a quick control find and I can get to that one.
I think it's in order. I think, well, maybe not. This one's
No.
different than the one in the packet. Never mind. Sorry.
Can we have a total of the first 46 items? Do we have that?
The tier ones, it's
Well-
9, the tier ones, finance, let us know it's about $9 million. And we have 7. Because I think these are locked.
You said tier 1 is $9 million request?
Yeah, all the tier ones, which is, as Brenda said, is line 46 up,
Mm-hmm.
total roughly $9 million, and you have 7 million to work with.
The way we did it last year, if I may,
Go ahead.
I think we did it last couple of years, is we took, we found the first 7 million in order of rank. And then we decided we could, conceivably, if we took everything that we ranked and we found our first 7 million, we could conceivably just go with that, But as in previous years, we decided, and we can as a team, to either just go with that first 7 million and then, or decide that you'd like to budget some of the items below that first 7 million. And by doing so, you would have to then remove some money from budget from the first ranked items. Does that make sense to everybody? We had a working sheet that showed that last year, don't you remember?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have here. So I think realistically, we could probably copy all those requests into the funded, right? And then come through what's on page 4, which is our rankings, and look at the bottom ones and say, do we want to start yanking out any of those? And then are there any tier 2 or tier 3 projects that we want to add in place of these?
So great options there. What I had heard, especially from infrastructure and the facility stuff, was like we could reduce all of those projects sort of by a commensurate amount, right, to fit. And then there's some of these projects that need to be fully funded, right? So I suggest we go through and talk about which ones just need what they're asking for and which ones might be able to be reduced from their ask. That's my proposal. That's something we can talk about, but and we talk through that and try to get to 7 million.
Yeah, we typically go one by one then. And then, but we're going by order of rank. So if we do start defunding some of the top ones, are we just going to then fund the ones that follow? Or maybe somebody has something that they want to shoot to the top. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like say for the number one is signal upgrade and replacement. So we're going to do all of that. But say we get down to PC replacement. Well, let's just do some PCs because somebody could suggest it, wants something way lower ranked. But this is just a suggestion. Let's go through one by one. And I gotta see where that ends up.
So,
Yeah, I'm amenable to that. There were certainly some projects that were like, here's the bid, this is what we need. Like the website project, I think that was already sort of like, this is what we know we need to spend. And then there were some of that was like, well, this is what we asked for last year, and we still need to do it, but maybe we can be more efficient at it. So I don't know. Maybe let's go talk to the ones that like need what they need, and the project's not going to happen unless they get funded at the level that they're requesting. And to be clear, what we're looking at in the packet for tier 1 ranked projects, Nancy, this is a culmination of all of our scores, or no?
I believe so. Because the first one was signal equipment upgrade that Brenda mentioned, and that's not the first. So that should be in the ranking that you of everyone's rankings combined.
All of our
in the
rankings.
packet, the
Yes.
document titled Tier 1 Ranked Projects PDF.
Yes,
That average total, that's all of our scores that we submitted.
correct.
And has kind of ranked these
Correct.
projects.
This sheet is not in that same order. So
Yeah.
just because this is finance's sheet,
Yep. Yeah.
and they have it listed by PIF and CPF numbers, which I've hidden. So
Can we pull up, or unless everybody has access to it, sort of that document in the packet, Tier 1 Ranked Projects?
And page 4.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Michelle?
Well, and I was wondering,
Sorry.
would it make sense, since not everybody has the one that was in the packet that was in order of how we ranked them, could we use the ranking spreadsheet to go through this rather than go through everything, like public art and wraps is the top one here, but it's, it's way down.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm
let's-
suggesting.
Yeah,
is
let's
that we look
use
at-
this one first.
We've all
because-
done the work to put in our
Yeah.
scores. Let's start
Yeah.
there.
And I can share my computer with Carl and things like that, so. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, you've got it. Right,
Carl's got
too.
it printed
Okay,
out.
yeah, Carl's good
I
too.
was gonna say, if you guys want to share, I'm printing a bunch of copies off and I'll run out there and grab them and
Would that
distribute
be
them to
helpful for everyone?
everyone.
I have mine up. I've got it.
I've got my
You've got
computer.
yours up. I think
Yeah.
we're
You're
good.
good? Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's talk through that sheet. And to be fair, I spent my time ranking the tier 1 projects. I didn't spend any time 2 or 3. So that was me.
Well,
But I feel like
I-
we're already oversubscribed on the tier 1 projects. If we get to 2 or 3, I'd love to hear input. But
Well, I did do the tier 2 and 3, but I gave them very low scores, so, yeah.
and also, I think it's worth calling out at this point, after going through that scoring exercise, I very much agree with Noah's input from the last meeting of like the scoring sort of math was challenging. The transportation and the infrastructure being highly weighted and like, are some of these projects this, some of this, some are both. So anyway, just agree with that, and I think there's feedback for the system, after we're all done. But yeah, it was. I didn't love how the numbers came out after I ranked everything. I don't know
And
if anybody else felt that as well, but
yeah, I had sent a couple comments, but just to be on the record of some sort, because of the way it's ranked of like, is this a safety thing or is this, it naturally kind of forces your rankings to go a certain direction, which is fine if that's what we're going for, but didn't allow you to really freely rank the ones that you think are the most important.
and we didn't have any input into how those weightings went, right? Because ultimately that's what we're doing is giving our input here and recommendation.
So I went back and looked at the follow-up from last year's meeting, and there was specific written feedback given on these points that was not taken into account. So we are raising all the same things that we raised with last year's process again, and that is frustrating. Yeah, because the scoring to me is not what I would consider fair. It doesn't, it presupposes certain priorities that we may not agree with. And as you said, if there had been a process for soliciting input on how these were going to be scored, and this was the result, that would be different. But the fact that we didn't have any kind of process like that, makes it hard to believe that these scores really mean anything in as far as what we would consider our priorities.
So that being said, let's take these scores for what they are with a grain of salt, and let's talk through what we as a body want to recommend to council as priority.
Just one quick point to also put on the record is that there was one category that was basically, do you have a grant for this project? And there was like zeros. It was a worthless category, in my opinion, unless there was, because we really didn't know any matching grants. So just to put that on the record as well.
There was a handful that said there was like potential or
Right.
intending on applying for,
Right.
which I think is a key metric. Like
If you have
other funding,
we should use other people's money
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
can if it's a good project, not if it's a bad project. But yeah, that's another category I think could be addressed next time.
Yes, good input. All right, let's trying to think of a good sort of process for us to look through this 1 through 46 list here, or ranking 1 through 46 list here. I guess let's just go top to bottom and kind of hear sort of if anybody feels like it shouldn't be fully funded, or if anybody feels like, oh, they could do with a little less money and still kind of achieve the goals, and go from there. How does that sound? All right, so first one, signal equipment upgrade and replacement. Thoughts?
I'll just start out by saying it seemed like a lot of money and kind of arbitrary. It's really hard to identify as a person who's not seeing a whole bunch of broken lights that we should throw 400 grand at lights that are allegedly needing to be broken. I understand it's a safety issue if they do go down, but it does seem to me like sort of a broad stroke solution to something that could probably be piecemeal fixes for individual intersections that are really wrecked, as opposed to a full 400K for a little bit of a vague end.
Yeah. Now, some of these, if I remember correctly from the last meeting, we're updating the signal equipment also to be compliant with current like ADA requirements, or where it makes a sound when or if people are hearing impaired. Is that
If that's the case, they should have clarified it, because it's not clear enough when these things are required for meeting laws or not.
Yeah, that's just what I remember from the presentation.
Because I guess here's a counterpoint, is like all the ADA ramps, like I deal with this in work all the time. It makes sense, but who cares if the ramp's fixed when the sidewalk's like 2 feet wide or there's a bush growing into it? Like most of the people in my neighborhood who I see in wheelchairs are right in the middle of the road, which is fine, but obviously they probably would rather not be there.
All right, so recommendations for either funding at below the request level of 400,000, meeting the request at 400,000.
Well, this is for regular maintenance. It's just for routine maintenance.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading in the
It's
in the
not for
document, too.
broken
It's not
lights.
for upgrades. It's regular maintenance.
Oh, and incidentally, just I'll say this. The ranking of putting safety first and these rankings is by design. They had a study session and kind of a meeting 3 years ago, I want to say, was it? And city council got together and said, yes, we will rank in this priority. So it's not that they didn't take us into account, it was just that was the time to say something when they put the sheet together. So I just wanted to clarify that it's that those rankings are by design. So this, they just feel that safety's first. Anyway, I think you should fully fund this.
Any other comments? I mean, to me, this feels like one that was not fully defined, and I think we could probably reduce from full funding to fit the total budget.
I mean, it seems like we're gonna have to take a haircut on a lot of these things, so it doesn't seem unreasonable to try to identify some percentage of savings from a handful of things that a lot of people may feel like could be trimmed, so that we're not fully missing out.
I think it would be great along the lines of what you said. When we asked Director Rachel about the, how to sort of reduce them, his suggestion was if you're going to fund them less, the way to do it is a little bit off the top and spread it out. I would be interested to know if we were to say like all of the, maintenance type projects, if we remove 15%, how far does that get us towards 7 million?
Yeah.
Because this discussion could be a lot shorter if it turns out that that gets us a good way there. I don't know how easy it would be to do that math in the middle of the meeting, and since we don't have an editable spreadsheet,
I was
going
going
to
to suggest putting in $300,000, and then we just keep going.
Yeah.
And I think we probably could take that whole column and multiply it by 85%. Do you want a hand? No? Can we not do that?
I like, to be really honest, I like Aaron's idea, put it in a number, and then
Okay,
if you,
we're good.
if you're
Yep.
at 10 million, then you go back and you do your hair
Let's keep
trim.
going.
300,000 it is.
300,
If you don't mind, that would be my
You okay with
recommendation,
this?
rather than trying to put in formulas.
It's important, it's good, but let's take a little haircut there. Okay. Next one, bridge repairs, $1 million.
Can you, oh, okay, I see it, never mind, it's this one up here.
Probably also one of those
Thank
important
you.
things, but a maintenance activity, 900,000. Do I hear 900? There.
I was just gonna ask if this is one of those projects that you had mentioned at the beginning, that if we don't fund it fully, is it worth funding at all?
So this one is in the other document, the PDF with the sort of descriptions of each. It's not super specific. It just says bridge maintenance repair funding based on priorities identified in the inspection report. I think there is a report. It wasn't clear of like, this $1 million is going to go to this, this, and this. So I'd be up for 800,000. We need to do some of these. It's not a clearly defined 800.
I think that makes sense. Does it make sense to actually identify the ones that, as Eric was asking, that do need full funding, and so we can just put those in real quick? And or do you want to go? If you want
down the
to, perfect.
list
Okay, I'm good with
is
that.
the way we're going to find those.
Okay.
Yeah. We okay with
I
penciling
like
in 800?
800.
For,
Sold.
for a bridge repair, I was thinking like 750K. That'll give them enough to maintain the bridges. They have to be functional. So is that enough?
25% haircut. I'm okay with that.
Same as the request for 27. The request in 28 goes down, so maybe you even catch that up in 28. 750, 750, 750 or something for future years. Makes sense.
750. Okay, and please, just so everybody on the commission here, like, by all means, if you feel like something needs to be fully funded, like, speak your piece. But we're going to keep flowing through these. So 750 for bridge repairs, unless I hear any objections. Let's do it. Police body and patrol car dash camera systems.
How long ago were the body cams and the radios redone? Seems like it was fairly recently.
I feel like it's 2 years ago.
Well, and they're requesting the exact same amount of specific money every year, so is this, I guess, I thought they were purchasing new equipment and then suddenly it's the same price every
Part
year.
of this is for licensing, I think, as well.
Right,
It's
so
a
there's
five-year
some,
contract for 1.7 million with Axiom or Exxon. So I feel like this is one that probably needs to be funded.
Me too.
I don't know if we have a choice on this one because we've got a contract. It sounds like we've got a contract signed per page 7. Capital fund, I'm sorry, police body control camera system.
My question on this one, and I don't think this is a question that anybody in this room would be able to answer, is this says the contract includes 92 body-worn cameras. And I'm wondering how often we have 92 officers on duty, and that, I would assume this is based on assigning a camera to an officer. They put it on in the morning as part of their uniform or something along those lines. And I'm wondering if that's the most cost-effective way to approach this, but it's not something anybody in this room probably could answer.
I wonder if it's body and cars.
That was a separate, it
97
said,
body,
yeah.
19 in-car and motorcycle, and then all the cloud storage. And this is for, and then there's also license plate reader technology, transcription, video redaction, camera upgrades every 2.5 years. So this is like it's a equipment as a subscription service. So it sounds like this is like they've identified the vendor, they've got a full proposal for this many, the numbers are there.
I think I agree. This feels like you can't, it's already a contract, and so.
Agreed.
The body cams, they are legally required to have those, but can they just use them until they actually die and then replace them?
Well, I think that's what this is not owning the cameras. It's like a subscription where you're leasing the equipment and then they refresh it every 2.5 years. And so this is based on sort of a procurement they've already done.
Yeah, with the way I read it, it's they've selected Axon for a 5-year contract through 2031. So that's why that's the 33,422 all the way through for 5 years. I think it's a contract. We don't own the cameras.
I think you'll also notice
lease
that this is one of the few that have a specific number in there at $333,422.
Yeah.
The rest of them are
License
kind of
plate
even,
reader.
30,000, 100,000.
Auto
It's
transcription.
my feeling that we should fund this completely.
I think it kind of is what it is. Yeah. Everybody okay with that?
Maybe in 2031
No,
when
I
we're
appreciate your input
renegotiating.
of like, maybe there's a more efficient way, but ultimately we've got to leave it to them to do that, to try to do this efficiently. All right.
Bookmark it in 2031 to review it when the contract's up.
Yeah, or write that down, please. Freight elevator replacement. I'll be honest with you, I don't like this one. If we're not trying to make large investments in this building, if there's, the regular elevator that could be used, I wonder how often the freight elevators actually, do we need it on call all the time? This is definitely one that at least a haircut. At least let's try to.
I wonder if it's a similar situation. It's like an elevator costs what an elevator costs. You can't really get half an elevator, so.
Yeah, he's right.
There's
And also,
ongoing
well,
repairs that they could continue to do monthly repairs.
Right, but the monthly number they gave us was pretty high. It seemed like it would spend more in repairs over 2 years.
But do we fund half it now, half it next year, or something like that too? There's only one request.
But
We
if you,
delay it until next year. We continue to limp along at, $3,000 a month of repairs and try to fund this next year. Also, I will tell you, $100,000 is low for an elevator modification or a modernization. I'm not sure if we're getting a new elevator.
Well, it says it's for a new control, updated control panel and safety gates. I mean, it'll include that. But it's also replacing the car.
Refurbishing.
Yeah, it just says that it's at ends of life and parts are getting harder to find. It's, as long as this thing isn't going to kill anybody by crashing to the ground, I would be fine with funding half. Do you want to do that?
I feel like it's not a huge number compared to some of the others. I'd rather wait on it and come back because it seems like if you're working in here and have to move desks all the time, you know, we're basically telling those people to take the stairs with a desk.
Or use the regular elevator to move a desk. I mean, a freight elevator is heavy stuff and desks. Okay, maybe you might have to take one extra trip in the regular elevator.
Can we ask the staff members here how the elevator?
Brian, do you take the freight elevator on a regular basis?
I am light enough. I can go up the regular elevator. I have never used the freight elevator.
Shelley and I have. I will tell you, it's not just for furniture, which will not fit into the regular elevator.
It's
also-
a size thing. It really is what it is. And what they're looking at replacing is because it is still the original elevator from when this was Median F, if you guys go back that far. That's what they're trying to change.
Yeah.
So it breaks down regularly. In my capacity as the audiovisual engineer for the city, we use it regular. I use it. I'm putting a studio in across the way. I've used it daily for the last 2 months. So it gets used. It does break down. It does cause problems. Some of the freight that does get moved from all 3 floors will not fit into the regular elevators. And they also don't go all the way up. So you'd have to come up 1 floor, move one of those to the other floor, and then go
When
up.
it has broken down, what have you had to do to work around
Wait.
it? Just wait until it's
Yeah, I mean, it's an important critical infrastructure element, but it's not something we can't work around if we have to. But it's something that they've been repairing regularly. Right now, they're at a point where they're having to manufacture parts in order to repair it, so that's why they want to replace the car. So that's my firsthand experience.
What is it used for? What's actually carried on it?
Anything that's large enough that needs to get moved that we don't want to move on the public side of things.
The only thing I can think of that would be on there would be paper.
No, I mean, we moved a set piece the other day. We moved tables. There's all kinds of things that could probably get jammed into a regular elevator, but it's going to be more work, more labor, more people, and take longer.
Like these tables here wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's not that
this,
much.
This table right here would not move in a regular elevator.
Also, keep in mind if they sell the building, it's an asset that's improved that is relevant. Most commercial property developers are going to look at things like new elevators as a valuable thing.
I think it's the longevity of this building and how long it will stand as it is. That's the question. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, we've probably got a couple years before they make it. I mean, it'll be at least a year before a deal is made, and we might still be in this thing 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And we just wiped off some money from, and it is ranked up here as a group. We put it as number 4. I think we should go. What city council will probably budget this? We'll probably do it, I imagine.
How about if we just leave it in, since it is $100,000, relatively small, and come back if we really need an extra cut somewhere?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm for the 100,000.
Okay. Very good. Alley maintenance.
I think probably every resident in Inglewood would want us to vote for LA maintenance as much as possible.
Personally, I disagree, but I respect your opinion. I
Tell us
think
why you disagree.
so. Well, first of all, not everybody has to go through the alley to park, but also it's, you're going slow through an alley anyways. It's not like you're gonna crash your car because there's one little bump. My alley looks like crap. It always has, and it hasn't affected me. To me, it's a low tier thing. I was gonna say I could haircut that whole thing for a year, personally. I don't think that's the right decision, but I think it should have a big haircut. Or they can piecemeal it and focus on the alleys that are destroyed next to Colin's house.
Yeah, I've had an alley that was really, really bad, huge potholes, and then they did some of this maintenance and it held up.
I think alleys in particular, each alley serves a small group of, residents of single-family homes. The folks who live in apartments aren't using alleys. There's a lot of people who live in Englewood who have no, contact with alleys. I do live in a single-family home, but I don't have an alley. I can't remember the last time I drove in one. So I'm of agreement that this would be a very low priority for me.
What else is this on?
Alls I know is everything I hear about is about alleys, 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 so, I don't have an alley myself, but, I do go down them from time to time. And in rainstorms, they are really crazy. So I'd leave as much as we can in there.
What about a haircut?
I don't know about maybe a haircut, but public opinion complains the most about alleys. And what you have to do in order for rain runoff is maintain that V shape so that the water runs off. And if you don't, then you end up with kind of a health issue because the water then stays. And then this summer we end up with mosquito lakes. So I don't know. I think I'd fully fund this, and I think council probably will. I think we did last year.
Carl?
Alley maintenance, if you don't maintain an alley, you're gonna have to pave it, and we can't afford to pave them, so, just maintain them as best we can.
Anybody else?
I will say, next year they're only requesting 100,000, which is a little surprising that they would go down that much. So maybe there's a little bit of room to extend that out a little bit. Again, I had a really bad alley, and then behind us was forced to pave it, so I don't have the issue anymore. But man, when it was not, it was a soupy mess of sliding and trying to get out, and the snow melts. Like it can be funky. And dangerous, maybe not, but it was risky.
Well, and you also, law enforcement uses them, garbage trucks use them, or how about 250? 250.
Gets our freight elevator fully funded.
All right, network development IT. No. 436. I feel like we had a big ask last year around this as well.
It does drop a lot for 2 years and then jumps up even higher. But does anybody in here understand enough about network IT maintenance to have any idea what this money goes
Enough
towards?
to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think one of the things we asked for last year, and I'd love to see again next year, is what did they request last year and what did we fund? Would be really nice to have as an addition for future consideration.
Absolutely. We've had that in years past where we saw what was funded the year previous. So we don't feel like that we just keep denying one particular department.
Okay, so we have 25
Does
budget.
that help? Sorry.
That does help, but do we have the request from last year also?
I'm sorry, I lost my line I was on. Network development. 325,000.
This is what we budgeted. Do we have what they
Well,
requested?
that's what was budgeted, and they've spent $79,511 through April.
It looks like there's a couple more columns in there. So
That's just,
unaudited.
that's,
Okay, so that's not the request.
2024
Okay.
unaudited.
Off the cuff, I would say another 324.
I mean, it is interesting they've only spent 80,000 this year out of the 325.
Yeah, where's the rest of the money that they had that was budgeted that didn't get spent?
They just haven't spent it yet.
So they haven't spent it and now they want 300 and whatever,
Well, that's
436.
so
So they want 700 next year?
They have $325,000 that's in the capital project for 2025. They've spent 80,000 probably through the end of April. They'll spend that $325,000. Remember, this is like kind of a savings account. You have to keep building it up and building it up. So they may not spend it all this year, but then they'll have that carryover for next year to buy those bigger purchases.
Yeah, like my suggestion was
That
three,
makes no
another
sense.
325 for 26.
No sense whatsoever.
Anybody have any thoughts? Carl? Nope. 325.
I do like having this budget number in here. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing that.
Concrete program, accessible ramps. This is a solid 350 request for the next 5 years.
I mean, it looks like they're on track based on the current year spend to spend it all. I'd be curious to know, like I said earlier, the overlap between the ramps and the rest of the sidewalk that's not accessible, and are we building accessible ramps that people aren't going to use?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's up to staff. Like that. I don't know if we have the insight to that.
I don't know, but I saw a guy driving his wheelchair down the street, and that just infuriates me. So,
Yeah, they do on Broadway. I've seen them too. What's great, it's like what Michelle brought up at the last meeting. When will we ever be done with this project? It feels like at some point
Well,
there's
the
got to
document
be.
says that this is for 100 ramps.
but also they said, when I asked the question at the last meeting, they said because the ADA requirements have changed. So they're always going to change. They're always going to need this budget. They're always going to need maintenance. And
Maintenance I can see, but I can't see ADA constantly changing at the state and federal level on a
Well-
yearly basis.
And we need to upgrade our ramps and our sidewalks. If we're starting with ramps and that's where it makes us get into the sidewalks, then, I mean, I can't say no to this number, just for me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I feel like it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I'd say 300,000, that gives them something to work with, but 350 I think is a little high.
Michelle?
I would agree. I'd cut it a little bit. ADA in general is only generated with construction. It doesn't, like, you have to do it because
We don't have to bring
you just
everything up
want
to code
to.
all the time.
I mean, I want to have, the city accessible, absolutely. That'd be, we all agree with that. But it does say in the description to upgrade or install new pedestrian ramps. And I think that what we really need to focus on, or at least try to have them focus on, is installing the new ones rather than upgrading unless they're really in poor shape. So I would do a little haircut here.
Anybody have thoughts about Carly said 300? Anybody have any thoughts about that?
I still go for 350, but if everyone says 300, it doesn't hurt my feelings too much.
I'd vote for 350 as well. I think we're all able-bodied people here, and if you were to be wheeling down a chair and couldn't get down the ramp because there wasn't one there, then you're stuck on what I would call a one-way street in a car. You keep having to turn around. So
Amy?
I would think that should be fully funded, and it
I'm
looks
for-
like they were fully funded with the request last year, and almost spent all of that. We're not halfway through the year.
I'm for 350.
Do we want a straw poll or are we okay with 350?
I'm good for 350. I just want to be on the record about the whole sidewalk issue of let's get some communication between these two projects because it seems like it's two separate buckets that is hard to analyze.
Yep. All right, 350. Service Center Building 1. I can't recall if they have a solid bid as $400,000 will do the job. Anybody else have recollection of the presentation for Service Center Building 1?
I felt like they did have a bid that was at least close to the 400.
They're asking for 400,000, but how can you build a large building for that? I'm not sure if they can. They're asking for it, so they may.
I think it's a steel building.
Yeah.
It's the foundation, the floor, the foundation's already there. I think 400 is probably to replace it.
I mean, the building's only going to get more expensive if they wait to build it, so
Agreed.
I think they should do it.
Any other thoughts on this one?
I vote for fully funding.
Yeah, this is building number 1, and they got 2 and 3 coming up, so
Are they tier 1 though?
not
This
now.
is the only tier 1.
Not now.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it at 4?
Keep 4.
We okay with that? All right. 400. Security cameras. This is expansion. It's to provide coverage that wasn't previously monitored.
Interesting to see that we've spent money this year, even though it wasn't budgeted per se, which kind of makes me feel like there's a real need, and maybe we need to put something. What's the request? Is 100,000 this year, but maybe 50 next year. So do we put 50, considering they're at 25 right now?
Yeah, I do 50 or 75.
Yeah, it seems like they could focus on the most needed areas first and then fund the other things as time allows.
I also feel like this one wasn't a fully formed proposal. Like they didn't have solid numbers. And this is sort of we could get it done for 100K, but if they really sharpen the pencil, then maybe they could, Carl, you have something?
I'm saying 75,000. Cameras, you see all these people that have these door cameras, and they take pictures of people, and they never catch them. So what good's a picture do?
In commercial buildings, I've had security cameras where it'll show the police, here's the picture of this person doing this thing, and they're like, I don't know who that is.
No.
Yeah.
That being said, the presence of a camera does
It's
deter
huge.
things, and
You could put fake cameras up. Too.
what do you think? Like 66K, 75K? Like, I'd like to see some savings here.
75 for me.
35.
I'd say 50.
Okay, 50.
I don't know.
Any
but
other thoughts?
I think we're going to have some legislation on a state level over the next year that's going to limit some of this. So,
Oh,
Limit surveillance?
yeah,
For cameras.
privacy.
Can you elaborate on why you think that?
Well, why I think that, because I just think on a state level that they're going to, it's going to come to question. I know right now it solves crimes, but who else are they surveilling and watching, and where does that come into play? So I'm for 50,000.
any thoughts? 50? Anybody feeling nervous about 50? Start with 50. That's our recommendation again. We're not setting the budget. That's our recommendation. All right, 50,000 for security cameras. Concrete utility city share. I feel like this is a fixed number, right? This is what we have to put in. Yeah.
I don't know, but isn't this David's, the rest of the sidewalks?
Yeah.
I think it is, yeah.
My understanding is we can't adjust this, that this is a required contribution.
This is what the required contribution is for the city to put in for the utility.
And we need them.
Yeah.
Well, but they haven't spent any money so far this year. So I think it's a share program. So that if like the sidewalk in front of my house,
Right, but also you pour concrete starting like right now through November.
Yeah, it's a
You can
seasonal
throw, you
expenditure.
can pour it in the really cold, but
yeah,
I think it's,
I understand that. I just think that since it's a shared cost between this residents and the city, I think that this budget number is what the city is saying. This is the maximum that if a whole bunch of the residents want to do it, the maximum will be 350. So I think we can cut it some.
Now, on the sheet here, in the justification box, it says regular maintenance is needed to maintain and improve the condition of city infrastructure. So this is this really contribution to, I'm having trouble understanding. This is for city-owned sidewalks, not into the utility for residents?
It says the city's contribution to the concrete utility enterprise fund for concrete repair and replacement along city-owned properties. But,
City-owned properties.
right, but I think
Well,
I think it's both. Yes.
As residents pay in their share for in front of their house, this is for the city to pay
So it's the
it,
city's share
repair.
of it, so it's
Okay.
so that's why I think that the 350, and especially since it's all the way across, I think
Kinda
that
is
that's
what
what
it
they
is.
think, the maximum that they're gonna have to pay this coming year.
What are y'all feeling? Leave it at 350 because it,
My thought is 300, but 350 may be needed, I don't know.
well, maybe asterisk this one to come back to if we need another 50 grand.
Yeah.
All right, let's put it in for 350. We'll come back if we need more. Great. In red. There we go. Old red. Perfect. All right. Broadway medians.
I'm for the full 200 there.
Yeah, I live on the south side. I'm for the
I'm with Carl. Yes.
They
Yeah,
got
this-
they got a long way to go to.
Yeah, and
improve.
it is a, I mean, this will have real impact, I think, for the aesthetic of the city.
Yeah, and this is only one part of doing the medians. It's spread out over multiple years, and if we reduce it, it just spreads it out over more years.
Yeah.
So I'm for keeping this one the same.
Any other thoughts? We all for 200? Great. Gymnasium curtain divider. This kind of is what it is as well, and this was based on a proposal of what they think it's going to actually cost.
I'm just curious why this is actually in the CIP as opposed into like in the school budgets.
It's because it's being paid for by Parks and Rec, so it's a capital investment that Parks and Rec is putting into the.
Oh yeah,
gym.
they explained that. at the
Why are
last
they
meeting.
putting it in?
It's utility. The
'Cause-
utility is, it's on a utilities budget.
It's Public
So,
Works.
Yeah, Public Works. But
But
Yeah, what
Public
are you
Works
gonna
does the
do?
facilities maintenance.
sorry.
Right, that's what it
This
was.
is
Thank
Inglewood
you.
Rec.
I
Okay.
misspoke on the department, but yes, that's what they said. Yes.
And this is one of the larger. There is another item in here about regular upkeep of buildings. This is a particular large item, and I think it was based on actual, what it's going to cost. So I feel like 40K is 40K.
I just wanted to point out that I think we're about halfway through the money we have allotted to spend. Is that right, Nancy? It's at 3.4 right now?
Yeah, you're almost at 3.5, not quite.
Yeah, so just,
All right. Well, we're maybe 40% of the way through the project, so so we're going to keep 40K in. Let's keep going, and then I think once we get to the bottom, if we're over 7, then we come back and look at additional cut. Pavement maintenance by area. This is one of those that I feel like Victor said, like if you're going to cut everything, just cut everything by a little bit. I feel like we could take a haircut on this one. We're asking for 750.
I mean,
Maybe
we've already.
675.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
We've already spent $1 million in 2025, and we budgeted 500 last year.
Yeah, I think a haircut is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if
But
they go
even
over budget, they have to find it, right? Or they have to
So
make a
something-
request and
yeah.
council to fund it, right?
Which is, I guess, maybe alludes though towards we might need to fund this one a little bit higher towards what they are asking for. Would be my only thought on that.
So keep your recommendation is to keep it closer to 750.
Yes.
They need
700,
to,
recommend? Like what?
I think I would recommend 750, but I'm in a mood to negotiate.
Carl?
they need to grind up some roads so they got some alley material.
It's a contingency here, right? Yeah.
I'd say 700 on this.
Yeah, I'm curious if we've got a 2025 budget of 500,000 and we've spent 1,164,000. Where are they getting the additional $600,000?
Brian, Nancy, do we know how that works?
They just have to reprioritize.
So they pull from other parts of their budget to fund this?
They have to, yeah, because it's not general fund. So with general fund, usually they'll go back to council for a supplemental.
Yeah.
You can't
They can't do
do
that.
that with this.
But didn't they say that some of these operate as like savings accounts where if they don't get the full
Correct.
amount, it may only have asked for 500 in 2025, but we're not seeing what they asked for in 2024.
Correct. Yeah,
2023,
very good
so
point.
This could
That's-
be,
yes.
they're
Yeah.
expending what they.
Oh, so they could have had a
acquire
carryover.
Yes,
few years,
thank you.
and they're spending it all at once.
Got it.
Yeah, they could have had a,
I think 700's a good middle ground there.
Oh,
Michelle?
well, I was gonna say, Nancy, keep that 24.
well, are you
Number.
going to be able to see everything if I do that?
Yeah.
Well, can you make the notes and comments one shorter? Or just hide that whole comment? There you go. That, yeah. Now we have the 24 numbers too. That's better. Thank you.
What's I? Yeah, what's column I?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
just notes and comments. Okay.
That's a good, Brian brings on an excellent point, though. I forget about that.
Yeah, I guess I revised my statement earlier. I think, if they're already overspending, then they probably need it. But this is, again, one of those things that's so ambiguous of like, who knows how they're spending this money on what, why? I mean, it's so generic and like broad brush that like, who cares? No one knows.
We're doing the best we can. All right, 700. Noah?
I just want to make a comment. It's not specific to the numbers necessarily as far as a proposal, but I made this point last time. Between alley maintenance, street maintenance, road materials, street reconstruction, we've got over 2 million of our 7 million like goes into roads before we can do anything else. And that's not like new roads or, improvements. It's literally just to redo them the way that they're already done. And to me, one, I'm not totally sure why that's all in the capital in the first place, as opposed to being in, part of the operating. And then it's just a very large amount to invest in roads when there's all these other priorities.
You gotta remember, bicycles are on roads too.
Oh, I rode mine over here. I know.
Well, unfortunately, the reason we take such a beating is because we have all this development and it's these big trucks. They use these side streets that just tear it up. That and the fact that we have 3-4 trash companies going through our streets and our alleys, that we keep throwing this money at that. So I'm hoping at one time, both those things eventually die down a little bit, and that will help, I think. As far as this pavement too, there's a little line here about when the ADA ramp upgrades happen, they have to do pavement resurfacing around it too. So again, we get this cut up, this road maintenance thing may lessen too.
Colin, you have something?
One other thought on it. I think we also didn't maybe do the best job, historically speaking, of maintaining our roads. And I think we're playing a little bit of catch up. And so, I think this is just something that we're going to have to continue to do until maybe we get ahead of it. And maybe it'd be great if we didn't have all the trash trucks and all the other things. But the reality is, I think we've got roads that need repairs.
And it's going to keep growing. I'm okay with a $50,000 haircut. We can come back to this. To Noah's point, would everybody be okay if we highlighted in this list all of the road stuff? And then if we need to come back at the end, we can look at kind of a commensurate reduction across those. Okay. New website platform.
I think that's based on a bid, so it is what it is.
This was based on a bid. I think it's important for the city to stay accessible. This is how more and more people are accessing information about their local government. I would be up for fully funding this. Any other thoughts, Colin?
Agreed, and it's $15,000 in annual savings. So, that pays itself back in a couple of years.
Yeah. Carl?
Do we know where that 100,000 goes? Is that a city employee or is it contractor?
That's a contractor.
Contractor, okay.
Yeah. And it's a one-time expenditure of a new platform, and they do all that work, and then we maintain it. Okay, $100K for a new website. I lost my place here. Implementation of neighborhood traffic calming program and safe routes to school initiatives.
I think in theory, we're probably all in favor of making school routes safer. I would be more interested in seeing what they specifically plan to spend the money on, because I think there's certain things that do work and certain things that don't work. And to me, it's too vague to just give them money without more clarity.
We do have a commission now that makes recommendations. And I think that they're kind of behind this request. Politically, it's kind of a hot button. There have been a lot of complaints about safety and people speeding, and a lot of discussions around what kind of speed bumps we should have and if we should have them. And then, of course, the speed bumps that they want need to be accessible for fire trucks and police cars. I would fund this.
Other thoughts?
I just wanted to note that the city and the school district are working closely together on defining the projects for this. I can tell you, I was out at Clayton dropping my kids off when Joanna Polson, the school superintendent, was walking around Clayton with the city public works staff talking about signage and all of this and making changes. So I like that collaboration is happening and that it's not just the city staff, trying to make improvements that ultimately benefit the school population. They're working closely together. So I'd be in favor of fully funding this.
Michelle?
I agree that I don't think that this is totally thought out. I definitely want to have safety for everybody going to school and all the kids and families going to school. But I'll tell you, I'm tired of these sticks that are kind of inappropriately put. Like if you're trying to get the Malley Center down Girard, there's a stick and a bulb belt, and it makes you go over into the other side of the street. I mean, so sometimes this traffic calming is not poorly, not poorly executed. It's poorly executed. So I'd be willing to knock this down just a little bit, but just because of that, I want the school safety funded, but the sticks in the middle of the road have to go.
Yeah, Colin.
Just wanted to confirm. Brenda, did you say you would fund it or wouldn't fund it?
I would.
Would fund. Okay, thank you.
I'm for funding this
Okay.
100%.
Eric?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that we have $250,000 budgeted for 2025 and we haven't spent any yet.
I feel like this could also be a seasonal thing, potentially. Yeah. I'm for
I
fully
believe
funding
it's the
this.
case that this program was just added to the budget. Last year was the first year it was added to the budget, and somebody was potentially hired or going to be hired to do the implementation. And so that might be why the expenses would be very backloaded this year, because it, took some time to get it off the ground. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of these things that have zero that I'm guessing are not actually zeros. But for this particular program, if I recall the last year's budget, there was essentially the startup costs, and then now we're getting into the implementation piece.
I'm for 200,000 on that one. That's kind of a wide range in there, so I don't know what's really good there.
Consensus? Are we feeling a 20% haircut, or do we want to fully fund this, Eric?
Let's put it at 250 and make it bold. We can come back to it if we need to at the end for additional cuts.
250 and we'll revisit. How about that? Okay. All right. Moving on. Security at Civic Center and Rec Center. Different from cameras. Make sure I get the right page here.
20,000 feels.
Construct security improvement modifications at city facilities identified in the security assessment report. Yeah, 20K. Yeah.
I feel like it's minimal and keep it.
Keep it. All right, 20K. Low hanging fruit. ADA compliance projects.
Is that ever going to get done?
That's what I.
Now what's interesting is the picture on this shows a crosswalk, but this is actually funding to construct improvements or modifications to city facilities to meet ADA. This is not sidewalks.
Oh, it says sidewalk.
Where is
Yeah, this is why it's confusing. This will cover all city assets citywide, from sidewalks, crosswalks, city buildings, and parking lots. I think it is specific to facilities, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And 150, I don't feel like we need to shave that, though.
No, well, it says once deficiencies are identified in ADA, so I feel like this is a placeholder number. I feel like this is just throwing that out there. I would be happy to bring this to $100,000. And if, it's just an ill-defined number.
I'm for 150 to leave it as it is. If they need the money, it's there and they can get the ADAs done.
Colin?
Yeah, I am a little confused. It says that the report's in process, but the RFP is still going through with contract negotiations, so it feels like they're planning to do stuff, but I don't know, there wasn't any budget for it last year, right?
Is this an RFP for the ADA assessment report? Or for actual improvements?
Yeah.
It's actual improvements.
Hmm.
Oh, the report is in process.
Yeah, I think I'd lean towards cutting it a little bit also, and just then if we need more funding in 20, it sounds like this is a long-term program. If we need to add more later, we can. That would be my thought.
How about 120? How's that sound? All right. All right. Carl, you have anything else? Your light's still on.
No.
Anything? Okay.
No.
Road and bridge maintenance materials. They only spent $30,000 last year. They've spent 21 in the first quarter of this year. Their budget last year was 150. They're bumping it up to 350 for the next 5 years.
It says annual targeted. I wish they would list what their targets are.
Yeah.
Well, if we lowered this is the materials for the things that we just lowered the budget by whatever percent, you could do the same here, lower it by a similar percentage, I guess. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I want to say this without judgment of staff by any means, but like I feel like this is a very reactive approach of like as things pop up. It doesn't seem forward thinking or strategic. It's just here's what we think we might need to respond to this year. That being said, I would support a reduction from the ask. Colin?
I think that's where I would lean. Also, with maybe 200 or 250. If we gave them 150 last year, they haven't really spent through it. They didn't spend it through in 24. I'm sorry, they haven't spent it through this year or last year. I think 250 or something like that, maybe 200 would be reasonable. It's more than we gave them last year.
Carl?
250.
You okay with 250?
Yep.
250. Man, I feel so productive with this. Parks and Rec, parking lot maintenance. This was one that was just like, it is what it is. If I recall the director's presentation, it's just ongoing, seal coat stripe kind of operations. I'm okay with leaving it at 80. Anybody else? Okay, leave that one at 80. PC and MDT replacement. Who remembers what MDT stands for?
I believe it's mobile,
Data.
like dash terminal or something.
terminal?
Data
Mobile
terminal.
data terminal, it's right here.
Yeah, it's mobile data terminals.
Oh, there it is. It's right there in the sheet. Mobile data terminals.
Oh, is that what they're calling laptops?
That's the laptops in the cars, in the police cars.
Got it. They should just call them laptops so that we all know what they're talking about.
Ruggedized.
Colin?
Looks like they're spending this money every year, whether it's allocated or not. They got 150 and 24 and already under 90. Keeping things up to date is important. I think all of us know that for their, connections and things like that. So I think if they're asking for 225, that seems to be about where they're going. Makes sense to me to keep this one just because it's so important to be in connection.
My only comment is, do we want to encourage some efficiency or budget at like maybe 200? I don't know if 25K makes a difference. But I don't know, with these like IT and technology, I feel like if you're really pushed, you can find a better, like some efficiencies.
I have a question here. So 250K, and is it fair to assume, just ballpark, that one per officer? So pulling from the camera number, about 92 folks. That would be like 2,100 per computer, or 2,700 per computer. And
Now, this
Seems
includes
like a lot.
both PCs for employees and public use computing areas and police MDTs. In my opinion, they should be separate. That's a lot to lump in. But just to clarify the math there, this is more than just the MDTs.
that helps.
They have 4-year turnaround on PCs.
Yeah, 4-year replacement schedule.
Like the library, I mean, you could just leave them in there until they die, I think.
Yeah, we talked about this at the meeting last time. I mean, it's the library and the public use are such a small number compared to the overall.
Not for the employees, but
Right.
for the public.
Yeah, this includes employees and the police mobile terminals and a handful of computers in the library.
Yeah.
Thoughts, number, haircut?
Well, they are trying, I think their efficiency is, what they're trying to say is by replacing a portion of the computer, it minimizes disruption to city services and controls costs. I mean, they're trying to say that is our efficiency by spending all of this money. If it comes to police computers, though, the city council will probably fund this 100%.
I was
Let's try to
thinking,
put that out of our mind and think about what our recommendation would
I
be.
don't wanna waste our
but,
time.
yeah.
I was thinking 200K on that one, but that could be even lower, maybe. I don't know.
I think I'd go at least 200. I go to fully fund it, but if it takes going to 200 to get everyone to say yay and move on,
Let's plug it in for 200.
All right, sounds good.
All right. All right. Lost my place again. Street reconstruction. Where are we on the list here? Nothing spent in 2024 and no budget in 25. Is this a new item?
And I think this is kind of what you were talking about, Colin, right? Means that this is stuff that we've put off for a very long time. This is that bucket. Am I right?
This is the full depth reconstruction. So
Yeah.
this is like fully, not just grading but like going down to the road base. Full depth. That's right.
I've been complaining about East Oxford for years and nothing ever gets done on it, so maybe they don't need any money.
Oh, I was going to open a ticket on that. I'm getting so sick of that too. But that's-
What else?
I wish it told us
What's
where
that?
I wish
Yeah.
it told us where this needs to be, because
Certain street segments.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've driven down one of those streets. So-
Yeah, I can see that this is probably the Oxford due to traffic lowering and deterioration. People use Oxford and Quincy as pass-throughs in the city a lot. Probably those, but yeah, we are guessing. I don't know. I'd be tempted to fully fund it, but I'll go with whatever you all think.
See, I'm tempted to cut it in half.
I mean, 500,000 isn't going to get us very far in full reconstruction. Like mill and overlay, that might go for a ways. The 250 probably isn't also going to get us very much. But if it again is something that maybe this provides some sort of bank for them to in next year get another 250 or more if we realize it and we can do something with it. Like I don't even know how far 500,000 would get you a block or two.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
All right, so let's start at 50% funding of
Okay.
this. How do people feel about that?
250.
250?
And is this going to be one of those red line that we're looking at all this? Okay, street stuff.
This is the deepest
And we
cut so
can-
far to transportation
Okay.
on a project. Anybody feel okay with that? 250? 250. Okay. All right, Little Dry Creek at the Plaza. Larger project.
I'm a little unclear on why it's 600 and then 560. Is it a project that's spanning 2 years to finish?
I'm guessing so, and it would be nice to see a project plan.
Well, that, and also just I'd like to understand how else they plan to encourage residents to actually use it, because I haven't seen that yet. And
All of that information is available on the Downtown Development Authority website. You can go there and see what they're planning to do with this area. This project is funded by, jointly with the city and the EDDA. June 7th will be the Indywood Swallow Hill Music Festival coming to Englewood for the first time, and we'll be right there at the Little Dry Creek, or what they're calling the Festival Street, right there next to the Little Dry Creek. So all that information's out there.
What else would you like to share about the funding at 600?
I think it is probably the case that this is subject to an existing agreement between the city and EDDA, so I'm not sure how much flexibility there is, but that's just my hunch.
I thought the ADDA had their own funding for their own projects. Is this our half or something?
That, I believe, is the case, yeah.
I think I just wish it was more obvious for us. I understand there are other resources out there, but we don't all know about that. So it'd be helpful to see what the plan is for the way they're going to spend the money, as opposed to having to search elsewhere for it.
Yeah, and is this that design that was presented as part of the parks bid, but was brought out of the parks? It had the big gold, or it had colorful rainbows going over it. Because that's not in here. It just has it just shows the map.
I think it's a version of that. It might not be exactly what was, but yes, I do think the idea is to enhance that space with lighting, play features, different things to essentially, create some more connectivity between the historic downtown area and then the Little Dry Creek Park, because the way it's currently situated, it's, heavily underutilized.
Yeah, I'm still tempted to really bring them. I don't think it's urgent. They make it sound. I think we could slice this by quite a bit.
Amy.
What I'm reading here, tier 1, urgent, immediate, or next year funding.
Yeah, that's the same description for all tier 1.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I didn't catch it on that one, but I was thinking that if this is part of it, and do they already have the plan in place? So, okay.
I mean, I will say this is a underinvested. I mean, it's a magnet for sort of unsavory activity, and it has real there's already been a ton of investment in this, and like, what do we need to do to actually activate it? Yeah, I mean, it's a big chunk, but I feel like it's
I
a
think
problem
we could
area.
I think we could do half. They have actually done improvements in that. But that was mostly for flood, though.
Yeah,
for flooding.
they cleaned it.
I just feel like as we bring more in businesses over there, that will help keep the riffraff out. I mean, just putting pretty colors on stuff is not necessarily going to bring more people down there. And they have increased patrols quite a bit, especially since that Indian restaurant opened right there.
Yeah.
Because you can't have somebody eating your dinner and then there's somebody sleeping out on the sidewalk. We've been down there a few times. Well, I take my dogs down there, and it's better, but financing, I would say half.
I will say this does seem to be hand in hand with other efforts to activate the space. So sort of the capital investment to the infrastructure paired with programming to activate it. Michelle? And then Amy.
Yeah, I would agree with Brenda, and I would cut it in half. Part of the problem you have with that area is that it's subject to flooding frequently. So there's only so much you can do there. You can't, anything you put there has to be something that's not going to get carried away by the flood. So I think that these dollars represent a lot compared to how much we have to spend, and so I would cut it in half.
Okay, Amy, then Colin.
I'm for fully funding because it activates, and anytime anything gets activated, then the crime and everything else goes down. And we voted to have the downtown district move forward. So I just think we need to keep this going.
Colin.
Yeah, I think it's chicken egg kind of thing, you know, if we don't invest in it. And I know there's been some investments, there's been other organizations that have invested in it. If this is something that we're kind of obligated to funds regardless anyways, I think I would be in favor of funding it fully, even though it's a large chunk of our budget. It is such a vital part of this community.
All right, so question, fully fund or take a bit of a haircut here?
Well, where does it say we're obligated to fully fund it?
Doesn't say we're obligated on any of these that we're fully.
I'm a halfie.
Carl?
So this is added to what ADDA has for that area? Is that?
Yeah,
is
it's
that-
it's a partnership between the city and EDDA to make the, and I don't know all the details, and maybe Noah might a little bit more, but I don't know if EDDA is doing the activation and the city's doing the capital investment, or how that sort of collaboration is set up.
My understanding is it's just a split of the costs, but again, that could be wrong. But that is my understanding, is that essentially the EDDA is contributing funding to the project, and the city is contributing, matching funding essentially to the project.
No,
I'm not sure what the plan is, because they just redesigned that down there. So I'm
Noah,
not
are
sure
you
what they're
familiar
gonna
with
do.
what they're actually planning, that you can just give us the elevator pitch of it? Because I'm looking online and it's taking a minute to find it and I haven't found anything yet.
I would need a minute to pull it up too.
Yeah. Okay, how about just as a recommendation to council, we take a small here, 500,000.
450.
What's your low dollar on that, Brenda?
I mean, I was gonna say 450 before, so if you're thinking 500, you're thinking 400, 450, 450.
450? 450, sold. All right. I love this. All right, we're getting through it. Library furniture. To me, this was such a small amount. It's going to do a little bit. Give them the 50K. Yeah, the refresh for some of the furniture. Any thoughts about the library need to take a haircut on this? Or Parks and Rec library and golf? Amy?
As someone who has used this once a month, I say yes, let's go the whole 50.
Okay. Colin?
The only thought is they haven't spent any, and they had 50K last year also. So that's
So
my.
to my question, I mean, $50,000 for commercial furniture does not go far at all. So if they're banking some of this to make a larger, I think that makes sense. Brenda, did you have something to add?
Oh, no, some of it is for some nice features. Well, it's funny, they showed the picture of what's in the conference room, and those tables are wobbly and bad. But she did mention that they're going to be doing some chairs where you can, with the built-in charger.
Yeah.
I think that's nice. I
Yeah.
would go for it.
All right. Fully fund 50K for the library furniture. Walk and wheel plan implementation. 390. I don't remember getting an answer for this of like why it's 390 for next year, then 465, then 565, and then 538, and then 807. Don't quite.
It does say they've identified several corridors, so I'm guessing it's like this stretch of road is X long and the next stretch of road is a different length. That would be my guess, but
Other thoughts?
Well, this is your bike lane installation, Michelle, just so you know. But I don't have a problem with it.
They spent 275. They're budgeted for 245. Haven't spent anything this year. Asking for 390 next year. Noah, let's hear it.
You'll be shocked to learn I'm in favor of funding this one. One thing I will note for Michelle in particular is that flex posts are the cheap option. So if we give them a haircut, we might end up with more flex posts. So but no, I understand this is infrastructure and is probably the kind of thing that we could give the same treatment as we have to the other infrastructure lines and, fund it at a percentage of what is requested.
Colin?
The only thing is we've created a plan and now we're implementing the plan. I mean, this does have maybe a little more backing to it as opposed to, hey, we kind of need some money some places. Like this is a walk and wheel plan that was put together and now we are trying to implement that plan. So maybe I'm a little more lenient towards trying to fund the full request, but maybe is it 350 or 300 or something like that? I guess I could see that being reasonable.
Other thoughts?
The developer going into the Hobby Lobby area, I guess it is. Are they going to do any trails through there, or?
So they were funding some infrastructure that was up in the Cushing Park neighborhood. I can't remember if it was like crosswalk or speed bumps or what it was, but there was something up the street in Cushing Park neighborhood. And then there were some improvements around the sidewalks, which is part of the sort of larger plan to connect the Little Dry Creek Trail all the way through so that it gets to the Mary Carter Greenway. But essentially would go, to a sidewalk for that portion until it gets to Floyd where there's the bike lane. And so there was some infrastructure included in that. But a lot of the things that we had talked about as sort of like, it would be nice if they could, was actually part of a different property. So that was the problem we were running into.
Well, Little Dry Creek's being done by the city, correct? The trail right there on Cherokee.
I think EDDA is involved in that one as well. It might, again, be a joint thing, but yeah.
Just for the record, the white sticks or flex posts that I was complaining about were not associated with bike lanes. If you go west on Girard, right there at Malley Center, it's a huge bump out with one post that forces you into the other lane of traffic. So I was complaining about that, not bike lanes.
All right, how do we feel about 350? All right, let's go with 350.
And we're at 6.2 million right now.
All right, we might have to go back and add money into some of these projects. Emerald ash borer mitigation.
I have a question on this one. Do we have a number what 2024, they spent 15,000?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we need to cut this one as much as, and I even have an ash, but it isn't worth it for me to go through all of these hoops with the city to use the money. It's easier for me just to do it when and how I want to do it.
Oh.
And so I don't know that they need this much money.
They probably need less money, but it's actually really pretty easy. You pay for it yourself, and then you just submit a receipt, and you get, like, I don't know, I didn't get a lot back, but
25.
yeah. I mean, it's
How much does it
it's
cost
just
to
a
treat a
grant
tree?
program. But obviously, it's unfortunate, like you said, they didn't spend that much because that means people aren't doing it, which is not good.
Okay, then the communication on it is very complicated, and I've read it 3 years in a row and said it's not worth me figuring out.
How much does it cost to treat a tree?
It's costing me what? I'm getting it done again this July. It's over $200. It's expensive.
I mean, to me, this is it's almost like a public health intervention, because if more people do it, it means less spreading throughout the city. I think it's important. Maybe the program design is off or the communications around it.
The ash borer, it's we got a lot. The city has a lot of ash trees, and public has a lot of ash trees, and to lose those trees, that'd be disastrous. I mean, you'd lose a lot of shade.
Right, I agree with that. I just feel like, are they using it, and is the public using it? So,
And it was undersubscribed.
right.
I would be up for cutting some of this. I mean, we want to, I think, an important program. Maybe they need to
Agreed.
think about a redesign or different marketing or something. We want this to keep happening, but they're not spending the money. The problem is getting worse. It's getting more into the ash borers are getting further and further into the city. I don't know.
Yeah, it could
half,
explode.
25, 30?
30.
Can I ask a kind of high level question? Because Brian, you noted that maybe each one of these are separate like accounts that they could theoretically carry money over from. Like, so on this one, if there's like a whole bunch of money sitting in there, and I'm not saying that there is, but, or any of them, when does that get returned to the general fund, or does it ever?
That is a question I don't know the answer to. Unfortunately, we as a department don't have a whole lot of capital projects, so I don't have that much experience in any of these other than this meeting.
Maybe that's a question for next year, Nancy, if we could
I
ask
can
that.
tell you that capital, it does not get transferred. To my knowledge, it does not get transferred back into the general fund.
Or into the capital fund, I guess maybe. Like, are you saying that each one of these projects kind of are their own accounts?
Yes.
And they can carry forward balances
Correct.
for this particular project. It doesn't go
Correct.
back into the capital. So once it's allocated, it's there. Once they get budgeted, it's there. They don't spend it, they keep pushing it forward.
Or they can go and request to have it, like,
Reallocated.
you know, like, oh, this project didn't cost as much. So at the end of each year, our finance department meets with anyone who has capital projects and say, okay, you're at the end of the year, you had $100,000 budget, you only spent $50,000. Are you going to carry that forward to the following year in your savings account? Or can you return it back to fund, you know, the
Okay, so it is actively
30 that can-
returned if it's not being used. I mean, at least the question's asked. You know, it's not just sitting in there someplace where we got a bunch of money just sitting there. It's not
Yeah,
being
so I
allocated.
mean, if let's see, walk and wheel implementation that you were just talking about, let's say they thought that was going to take $2 million, but you know, by the end of the life of that project, it's only going to be 1.75. Then that 25 goes back, not goes back, but it just stays in the capital or the PIF project account to be reallocated for the following year. Does that make sense?
It does. I think, does everyone else
Yep.
catch that too?
I'm with
Good.
it.
Okay, so 30, okay, back to the original
30?
question. Yeah.
30.
I'm sorry, tell me where we are again. Emerald
That was for
Ash Borer,
Emerald Ash Borer, 30,000. You got it in
Thank
there.
you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Let's-
I'll go.
Oh, sorry, Brenda, go ahead.
No, I'll go through the process, and if it is overly cumbersome, I'll say something to the department.
Facilities and operations. These are for various smaller yet still capital projects and improvements on city facilities. They spent $745 last year. They're asking for $835 this year. Last year's budget was 1.5, so they had about 750 to carry forward. They've already spent 475 this year. I would knock this down to 750, maybe 720. Eric, do you have a question? Your light's on. Carl, what about you? Your light's on as well.
It seems like if it's going up 100,000, they're trying to pad it. Maybe, I don't know. 750 is fine with me.
I think so too. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's like a decisive list of here's these 100 projects we need to do and here's the dollar amounts associated. I think 700, 725. How you guys feeling about that?
Yeah, and that puts us at 7,048,000. Am I right? Is that it?
Yeah, what's the exact number? Is it 7 million exactly that we're shooting for?
It's right here on your screen.
Yes,
That's what we're at, but what are we shooting for?
7 million.
Seven exactly?
Yeah, I
Okay.
confirmed that with
exactly.
Jenny.
Was this the
7
last
million.
project?
No, we got a couple
we got
more.
it. Let's keep
And
going.
a couple more that we
Let's
have
keep
to
going,
fund.
then we'll revisit. So let's do 700 for this. Is that okay? 700K? All right. Oh, all right. Now we got $2,000. We got $1,500 to work with. Next one, public art. $1,500.
Chair, if I could also interject, you have to do, where's the number? Art in public places of 1% of Fund 31, you have to have that in.
Okay,
So just keep that in mind.
let's plug that in.
Um,
Yeah, it's a state law.
So 29,000 there.
Is that the right line? That's not the right
Is
line.
it 70,000?
That's walk and wheel you just adjusted.
Oh, so sorry.
Why is it 29?
It's the next one
and
down.
That
Here you go.
one, the ask is 29. Yes, yeah, so
But if we
Okay.
hit,
Okay.
And I can probably, depends on how many Fund 31s you come with, and then we can take 1% and adjust that if need be.
Okay.
Okay.
So public art wraps and crosswalks, they've asked for 100K. They got to take a haircut.
Yeah.
Carl, you have thoughts?
They've got 4 crosswalks that I know of that are painted or have adhesive on them, but they don't hold up very well. So if they're going to keep doing those, they need to get a little better quality, which is going to cost more. But it's kind of nice to have it like that. But
yeah,
I don't know if it's worth it or not, really.
It adds to some placemaking, kind of really feeling like, especially around the, Broadway downtown. Noah.
I'd like to apply the same approach that we have on the other ones. Say pick a percentage, 75%, and apply it to, these various sort of placemaking, wayfinding, public art, because we have kind of a group of smaller requests here. And I'd like to just, apply a percentage and kind of see where that gets us.
Okay.
I'd say 75.
Brenda, you have something?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that these are nice to haves. They're not need to haves.
Yeah.
So yeah, with those we should definitely.
Let's
see
plug
what
in
we do.
75 for now. We're going to have to go back and group some of these together, maybe apply a requisite percentage, but let's just plug 75 in for now. Colin.
and that would be my only thought, since we do need to cut more and these are nice to have, should it be 50% and do 50,000 for each one? It'd just be a thought process.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have to come back. All right. Neighborhood signs. 20K. That's a 30%, 33% cut.
They're not even spending. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really contingent on people signing up to be neighborhood captains or whatever the title was. Yeah.
I also think that they can find some grants out there. I think there are grants out there, and I have a couple ideas I would share with them, as opposed to doing it this way.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, at least a haircut. I mean, if it is contingent on people applying for it, the people who are thirsty for it probably already applied for it, and other neighborhoods just may not care or be interested.
Yeah, and they've got some rollover. Let's plug this one at 15,000, maybe cut it in half.
I'm not sure that would work, because I think what they said was that it's like essentially $10,000 per neighborhood that gets the signs. And so the 30,000 is 3 neighborhoods. I mean, we can plug it in and they can do what they want, but just a note that
And if they have rollover from this year, then it could be
then that might work too.
Maybe some grants.
Yep. All right. Wayfinding and placemaking. 100K. This is for the message boards, maybe some murals, gateway signs, and planning for more mural artwork. David.
Does it talk about where the message? None of this has a specific.
There are
project,
defined
does it?
locations for those message boards. Parks, mostly. Not all the parks, but in some of the parks.
There's entering bridge gateways, entering the city from Santa Fe, at Dartmouth, Hampton, and Oxford.
I believe there's also potentially a plan to add some of the city signage at the public schools.
Yep. Did they have budget for this year? Where are we at?
They spent 97K.
Well, that was last year.
I know.
Last year,
I
yeah.
can't control it. And nothing yet this year. Yeah, I mean,
And it's
75?
mainly for murals too, if you read the description.
say that again, Michelle. Sorry.
It's mainly for murals.
Murals in the gateways and the public signage, like
Right.
the sign that's out front
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Plug it in for 50 or 75.
I would haircut it because I think there's certain elements of the thing they proposed which I would cut completely, not the whole program, but I think there's certain elements that could be haircut.
Yeah, we don't have that ability to give that level of direction.
65. Right in between.
65?
Yeah.
65.
65K.
All right, we're already over budget anyway, but 65. Okay, great. Last one, art and public places, we already talked about. We have to fund that at 1%. Yeah. Okay, so from what I've heard, there's really two buckets. There's the transportation sort of bucket that we want to look at in aggregate and maybe do like a commensurate percentage reduction and all on.
Sorry. Do we want, before we start cutting now more in these, or do we need to discuss if there are any other tier 2 that we all think, or tier 3 for that matter, that should be moved up so that we're not doing this twice?
Fair enough. Good point. Who's passionate about tier 2 and tier 3 projects?
I mean, I think there was a couple that jumped out at me. Well, the Hamden Rail Trail Ped Bridge. I think Carl really wants that one. And I do think it's important. I don't know if that's one that we have to also spend money on. Looks like they're putting the $5 million in next year. If there's a requirement at all for that one, it feels like that might be like a design or maybe some other fees so we can actually construct that thing. So I would be curious if anybody else had a feeling on the Hamden Rail Trail. There's Zondi no on that, it sounds like.
Well, I think it too is a nice to have, but not a need to have. And I think we're having a poor year. And we might, in better years, get some grant money for that. My concern that jumped out at me, and we don't have the money at all, would be more facility backup generators. But that's almost $1 million. I'm just surprised. I guess it's a tier 2 because we did fund backup generators for police. Yeah, and maybe this building. Yeah, nothing else. I mean, it's tough because I think service center buildings and the Malley Center door replacement is down there. But we're already looking like we need to go ahead and find another $180,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the question. Are there any tier 2 or tier 3 projects that anyone here feels should supplant what staff have ranked as a tier 1 project?
How much was that? Was the Santa Fe rail trail again?
250.
Ooh,
250. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I'm just making sure that we're discussing it. And the other one is the Southwest Green Belt. And again, maybe not one that is a high priority and is a high cost amount. And maybe we just need to push it. But it feels like it's kind of an area that doesn't get as much love as the rest of the city. So, just making sure that we're accounting for that. I don't feel super strongly about any of these. I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about it before we did our final numbers.
Yeah, there wasn't anything for me on those lower tier. I mean, ultimately, I was really just putting my trust in staff to rank these for priority. That said, does anybody feel there's a tier 2 or tier 3? Noah, I know you want to say something.
I mean, there's many of these, obviously, that I would love to, I would say the one that jumps out to me is the mid-block crossing at the Gothic, along with, the other work that has been identified for the downtown area. And that to me would be really important for traffic calming, pedestrian safety, and also just creating that, sort of entry point there to the downtown area. But I don't know where to find additional money. I think, just long term, it would be great to have some of these very large, sort of ongoing programs broken down a little bit more so we could have a little bit better understanding of kind of what the trade-offs are. But yeah, I mean, there's many of these that I would love to fund, but I'm not sure where that money would come from.
I'll second that. I would swap the mid-block crossing at the Gothic for the median improvements further south on Broadway. No offense to those who live closer to Broadway, but I think there's a far more large populations of people crossing at night. And it's like Noah said, it's a gateway to downtown, and it sort of starts to play into the defining the zone as at the Gothic as opposed to running past a car dealership.
Is that the Broadway safety improvements? Is that where that would fall under?
I'm assuming it's not as clear on this list.
No,
Yeah,
there's a specific line item for mid-block crossing it.
Yeah, but I don't see it on
Yeah.
this tier 2 and tier 3 ranked projects. I don't know what
It was on the
happened to it.
score sheet, but yeah, I'm not seeing it on the
I
current
don't see it on
PDF.
here, yeah. Yeah, I remember it seeing it on the score sheet as well. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
Again, I'm looking at the spreadsheet, it's on there. So. Not the packet, I'm looking at the scoring spreadsheet.
That we all
Definitely on there.
follow, that one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some on there that I mean, the widening of sidewalks to 6 feet where necessary. There's several there. Staff have put those lower.
Yeah, it is kind of surprising to have a tier 3 for kind of along the same lines, the Broadway safety improvement. And it has a picture of the crosswalk in front of the other crosswalk that's downtown. And that's $75,000. But it's to evaluate existing configuration, signage and striping at various intersections along Broadway and install minor improvements to improve safety for all users at various intersections as necessary. If we funded that, maybe they would put something temporary, in that area, or at least improve the crosswalks there at Broadway.
Well, the one you're reading from, Brenda, if you look at the picture, it's the picture that's the one that's mid-block,
It's the
Broadway,
mid-block,
yeah. So maybe that is, but I think on the score sheet, it did say, like Noah says, it's the Gothic, yeah. It doesn't specifically say that here.
It's a tier 3.
Yeah.
I mean, we could try to fund that, but we're going the wrong direction. We actually have to cut.
Can I just throw out one that we go back to is the network IT one? That seemed like a big number for a bunch of years, and it feels like something that maybe could be trimmed.
We could probably do that.
Something to note, our combined scoring, there's like 10 of the tier 2 and 3 projects that rank above wayfinding and placemaking. Like the art and public places we have to do. It ranked the lowest on the tier 1 list. So, I mean, just scoring wise. Sorry.
Yeah, to be fair, you should.
Are any of these, like the Bellevue Ave, or any of these needed to meet grants match or something like that? I would feel like that would then be a higher ranking from our teams, but it
would take some digging back through the scoring sheet to figure that out.
Yeah.
Carl?
A couple things here. The Bellevue Avenue, that would be good to have sidewalks over from Broadway to Fox. But the picture that they show, that's West Bellevue. The picture they show is East Bellevue, which also is a problem there because they got telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalk. The other thing I was looking at here is the Hampton Rail Trail. They got, to me, it looks like they got $5 million for that bridge, and there's no way in hell they're going to make that bridge in $5 million. No way.
Well, and that's not inclusive of the developer's contribution.
Next year, but
there might be additional funding from other places and or the developer contributions as well as grants or anything like that. I'm not sure if I thought we had one at one point, but I don't know if that expired or not. I don't know.
Well,
But
I think Bellevue's a state highway though, so there should be some state funds for that.
there's also, I mean, similar to the Bellevue sidewalks and the Hampton Rail Trail, there's small amounts this year and then huge amounts in 27, or small amounts in 26, huge amounts in 27. So I feel like they're just trying to get a head start on some of this, but if that's what it's going to take in 27. It's nothing to add 250K to 5 million that they're asking.
I suspect that's probably like design construction. So if we don't fund design, construction's not going to happen. So that's probably what we're looking at, is just pushing those out a year or more.
But they are tier 3 too.
They are tier
so,
3. That's my
yeah.
point. Is like that. Also, I mean, they've been ranked lower by staff.
The Bellevue sidewalks, that's the only thing that I really see on here that, because I drive Bellevue all the time, and that's a mess there.
So that's 200K for 26 and then 1.3 million for 27.
I think that staff rank these things, and if they felt like it was a tier 3, we're working on tier 1, and we've already spent too much money. So I think we should prioritize to tier 1 and maybe throw in some tier 2s. But going down to tier 3, I agree. It would be nice to have all the sidewalks and everything there. That'd be great. But all of these things would be great, and we don't have the money for them.
Yeah, I don't feel like filling up a tier 3 into the mix at this point would be advised. So, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, are we good with just the tier 1 projects that we have in front of us? Moving on to finding $180,000 in savings. Okay. So I went in through and highlighted 6 transportation projects: signal equipment upgrade, bridge repairs, alley maintenance, pavement maintenance by area, road and bridge and maintenance materials, and street reconstruction, sort of in that bucket that we had talked about revisiting. Nancy, can you highlight each of, I can read them again, but highlight each of those and get a total for where we're at. So this is the first one: signal equipment upgrade and replacement, bridge repairs, alley maintenance, pavement maintenance by area, road and bridge maintenance materials, and street reconstruction. And can you give us the amount that we put in, that we have in our recommendation? Oh. So the original ask was $3.35 million. What do we have penciled in?
you might have to just do individual cells.
Yeah.
We have 2.5. Yeah, we have 2.5.
So we funded those at about 75%. Two and a half. The total ask, so we funded it. Oh, whoops.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we're showing right now.
Right. So their original asks on those items were 3.35. We've penciled in 2.5, which is just under 75% of their ask. Okay. So,
it looks like we might have a couple of lines missing. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything.
Oh, yeah.
Line 17, so line item, I guess, sorry. Yeah, go back up to line item actually between 6 and 7, or line item 6. This seems to be missing.
Oh,
It's just skinny.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hidden.
no, there is.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay, so is that one that we're
It's
supposed?
because it was a tier 2.
If it's a tier
on
2.
this list.
Okay, no, thank you. I just want, is that the case for all the ones that are hidden? So like, okay, perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something we needed to add in there. Okay, so Aaron, you were at 2.5, you said?
Yep. So on those 6 projects, which I think are all of the transportation road type projects, I don't think that includes the concrete. It does not include the concrete utility or accessible ramps, but these are like streets. Okay. We're funding those at 75. The other bucket we had talked about looking at were sort of placemaking and public art. And we highlight those differently, and I only have 3 of those. Those were towards the bottom. Public art wraps and crosswalks, wayfinding and placemaking, and neighborhood signs.
And I'm sorry, what was the third one?
Neighborhood signs.
Oh, the signs.
And so we're funding those at, what's our total there?
I think, I mean, it's not a huge impact, but I think we should definitely consider reducing the public art and the wayfinding and placemaking, to say 60,000 each from 100, save a little bit. The one we didn't really cut very much from at all from the transportation list was pavement maintenance by area.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if,
Well,
that's where we should look for the biggest opportunity.
What I was thinking, Noah, of like really combining these buckets and like applying the same percentage across all of the asks. So we're funding the public art, neighborhood signs, wayfinding at about 67% of their ask. So we might be able to find our 180 if we drop the transportation ones down from 75% fund to 70% fund. So for those ones highlighted in yellow, so let's start at, just as an exercise, I guess, signal equipment upgrade and replacement. Yeah, up towards
So
the top.
you're talking green.
I'm talking about the green ones. Sorry. Yep. Signal. Let's do 280 there, and then bridge repairs. Where's bridge repairs?
Road and
700.
Oh.
I'm just going to apply 70% across all of these. Alley maintenance would be 245. Yeah, we were close. Pavement maintenance by area would be 525. I think we're already there. What's our bottom line number right now?
7.
6932.
How about the network development IT?
Yeah, I would like to take a little out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if yours did take it down
to
Well, we fully funded that. So we're talking about dropping that down, right?
No, it was 436.
Oh, no, you're right. Okay, yeah. So we could add some back.
Or take some more out.
What's 70% of 436?
So
305.
Hmm.
So less.
There you go.
Mhm.
Now, well, we don't want to take more away. We're going to put some back.
Are we? No,
Well,
the total is 6.
The request is 436.
436, and we took it down to
325.
What's our total?
We put the balance.
We just could put, yeah. Yeah, we
We've
just
got
like,
70K to work with here.
yeah, that's it.
But I think what we're saying is bringing network development IT down just a little bit more, another 20K to 305.
What are we trying to save for? Like, what do we want to allocate?
Little dry, is that,
I was gonna say, how much did we take out of Little Dry Creek? Even though I'm skeptical on the project, ultimately it could.
Agreed.
600 was
It's 600.
was the ask.
75.
600 was the ask. 420 is 70%. What did we fund it at?
We also have Parks and Rec parking lots at 100% funded still at 80K.
Yeah, the parking lot maintenance I think we talked about was like they knew what they needed to spend
Yeah.
for their project. Let's bump Little Dry Creek up to 500. If that's okay. Because we could still reduce some of the road and bridge and the street reconstruction down. What do we have road and bridge at? 250. So we only take 5,000. That's fine. Leave that there. And the other one was street reconstruction at 5. What do we have that at?
250.
Oh yeah, so that one took a big cut because 70% would be 350.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big cut.
Let's plug 350 in there. Keep that consistent.
The road and bridge? Oh.
Yeah.
And then what are we over now?
Yeah, then we're going to be over.
I'm sorry, did you say road and bridge or street reconstruction?
Street reconstruction.
Yeah,
Sorry.
For 350.
You did it in the right place.
You got it.
You did it.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
The accessible ramps.
We also have the line 10 and line 11 that we highlighted in red to come back to if we
Oh, yeah.
need to cut anything.
Yep. Let's look at
Where are
maybe
we?
Mm-hmm.
7082.
let's look at maybe 80% funding on those. What do we think?
Sure.
350. So that'd be 280.
we only need 10,000 more.
Maybe 200.
So we'll just put it at 240 and we'd be right there.
Well, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I feel more protective of that one anyway. Let's go for implementation of neighborhood traffic calming at 240.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry, 240 right there.
That box, yeah. 240, yeah.
And the grand total is?
And then what's our bottom line now?
Perfect.
Where's the odd number that we could take out? 2422.
It's
That
in the
one.
police-
Oh my gosh, it's the yeah.
Line 39 is the odd number.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what's that?
That's
Put-
close
That's
enough.
the,
That's close enough.
It's close enough.
Is that close enough, Nancy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
That's close enough. I mean.
All right, gut check. How's everybody feeling? Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
All right. Back to the agenda. Staff
So-
choice, go.
I'm sorry, before you move off
We need
this.
to make a motion, I know.
Yes, thank you.
Move to submit this funding budget to council. Is that correct?
City manager.
The city manager? Okay.
Can I get a
I
second?
second that.
Eric, second?
Yep.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Well, can I make a quick comment or discussion item? Is it possible for us to get a comparison after city council puts their numbers in versus what we did? Because I think that would be a good loop
Yeah.
for us to close.
Absolutely.
You mean as to what they decide to fund?
Yeah, what they decide versus what we decided to
Sure.
fund. I think that'd be really interesting. Because city council, I mean, they can throw us everything out.
Oh, yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So, but I think it'd be nice to see what city council does. If we could see a line item on that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Yeah, you bet.
All right,
You ready
we've
for
got
a
a
vote?
motion on the floor, yep.
Mr. Adams?
For,
To
yes.
approval to send these recommendations to the city manager.
yes,
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Renson?
Yes.
Ms. Hupka?
Yes.
Ms. Cicero?
Yes.
Mr. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Montiel?
Yes.
And Chair Martinez?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Or excuse me, 9-0. We're not
Yes.
council. Thank you. Well
Yeah, I'm
done.
impressed.
All right, staff's choice.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, thanks, Brian. Attorney's choice, we don't have one tonight. So commissioner's choice, let's start at the end on this side and move down. Carl.
Nothing, I guess.
Michelle.
I have nothing, thank you.
David.
Except for to thank Nancy for all of her stuff with the spreadsheet. Thank you very much, Nancy.
Yes. Brenda.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good.
Good.
Noah.
Just one quick thing for Brian. I told somebody that I was going to make sure to highlight that there are grants available for $50,000 from DOLA for governments that adopt a fast track development review process. And I didn't know if that was something that we were looking at.
What I'll tell you is our development review process is already fast tracked, and it's hard for us to get even faster than what we already do. Our process is faster than almost every city in the metro area, just in how quickly we can review our projects. So it's something that we talk about frequently, but we don't have a lot of room, but it's certainly something we're looking at because they've got a lot of grants out there for all these new laws that were approved in 24. So we have, I think we meet with them monthly on certain items and bi-weekly on other items when they're meeting with all the different cities, try to get information out there. But
So could
We
we
are
get
aware that they're
50K
there.
for doing what we, so could we get 50K for doing what we already do?
I don't think they'll let us do that, but we can ask.
Yeah.
We can always ask. The answer is always no until you ask.
Okay. Well, I'm in the grants business in my, life outside this commission. So if I can help with, writing an application or something, please reach out, let me know. I'd love to support the city in getting some more money to fund important things that
as
we just had to cut.
Love free money,
Yeah.
free to us money. So we certainly look for every opportunity that we can to get it.
Thank you.
All right. Eric. All right. Again, thank you, staff. Thank you, Nancy, for your spreadsheet navigation. Yeah, this went well. Thanks, everybody. With that, we're adjourned.
Amazing.